Thank you so much, Julie. I just want to say welcome to everyone, and it's so rewarding to have such a fabulous turnout. Just quickly, the Seniors Working Action Group is hosting this presentation, and it's a senior advocacy group that works under the authority of the Town of Oakville and Recreation and Culture. So we're mainly a volunteer group, but we do have Julie and Kelly, and we have Councillor Kathy Duddick on our committee. And this is just so in line with what we are about. And I can't tell you enough. It's just so rewarding to have everyone here. Stephanie Senecal is from the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Stephanie is the Senior Support Unit Coordinator with them. And as such, she is responsible for the content of the presentations and teaching other volunteers how to do these anti-fraud awareness events. And when I first met Stephanie, I was just so impressed with how well she speaks. And I'm just so thrilled that she agreed to do this presentation for us. So I will turn it over to you, Stephanie.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for the nice message as well. So I'm Stephanie Senecal. I'm the Senior Support Unit Coordinator at the Canadian Anti-Fraud. I've been there for about 2 years, and I have to say this is the most rewarding job I've ever had. I love doing these presentations. So let's get started. So the presentation is from last year because we haven't finished the new one yet. So the statistics will be from last year, but that's okay. They don't change very much throughout the years anyways, especially when it comes to seniors. So, I can't. Okay. Yes, so that's our nice building in North Bay, Ontario. So we are in partnership with the RCMP, the OPP, and the Competition Bureau. And originally, when it started approximately 30 years ago, we had one OPP officer that was assigned to all the frauds, but they soonly after that, they realized that one wasn't enough. So that's when the RCMP became partners with us, and we appreciate them every single day because they fund the Canadian Anti-Fraud. We always say that scams and cybercrimes can happen to anyone, anytime, and anywhere. So the Canadian Anti-Fraud states that there's judges, lawyers, professors, law enforcement, doctors, so everybody is targeted. So the 1 minute that you think it won't happen to you, that's when it happens. People tell us all the time, I was just coming back from the grocery store, I had a bunch of bags in the kitchen, I was getting ready to make supper for a gang, I got a telephone call, boom, I got caught. Or I just woke up from a nap, or my friend just passed away and I wasn't completely there, or I was late at night, early in the morning. So the minute that you think it won't happen, that's exactly when it happens. So this presentation will empower you to recognize, reject, and report fraud and lessen the chances of you becoming a victim. So a little bit more about the Canadian Anti-Fraud is that we have 3 different units here. We have the Fraud Prevention and Intake Unit. So that is the unit that answers all the telephone calls for the reports being made over the telephone. They would enter it into our database. They are the professionals, so they deal with around 30 different types of frauds that change on a regular basis depending on what the fraudsters are doing at that time. And they're also the ones that would validate the reports online and make sure that when they're in our database, that they're entered correctly. Then we have the operational support unit. So they're the disruption, intelligence, coordination, and deconfliction unit. So what they do is that because the Canadian Anti-Fraud doesn't investigate, we will support law enforcement in Ontario, in Canada, and all over the world to support with their investigations. They can also create investigative packages for our partners, law enforcement, and again, all around the world. So if we see there's something happening in Ukraine, we will send an investigative package to Ukraine law enforcement so they can do their investigations. Something else that they do is that with all our partners, so like any credit card companies, telephone companies, email address, so we will compile all the fraudulent telephone numbers, email addresses, credit card numbers, and the list goes on in our database, and we will send our partners packages as well. So for example, telephone numbers, we will send it to them. So Bell, for example, will send a list to Bell. Bell will go through the list and they'll do their own internal investigation to determine if a telephone number was fraudulent. If yes, they shut it down. And then my unit, the senior support unit. So this unit is compiled of senior volunteers that do most of the work. So they do callbacks to senior victims to make sure that, they understand what happened to them. They have reported it to all the businesses that were involved, their financial institutions, their credit cards. We'll make sure that they change their passwords. So every single report that is handed to our senior support unit volunteers is always very different, but always very similar. So the recommendations may be different depending on the victimization that they've had. So something else that they'll do is that they will send the fraud prevention package that has been handed to you. We can either email it or mail it to them. There's other handouts that we send to them to prevent them from being victimized or re-victimized. They will also do, not all of the volunteers, but the ones that are comfortable, they will also do presentations like this to senior groups all over Ontario and all around Canada virtually. So in person or virtually. And yeah, so that's a little bit about the Canadian anti-fraud. So for disruption, so I said the operational support unit, they're the ones who disrupt. So in 2021, we were able to disrupt 1,559 telephone numbers, 862 credit cards, over 10,000 email addresses, 2,618 merchant accounts, bank accounts close to 17,000, and then websites 12. So some people will tell us, oh, why only 12 websites? That's because we just started partnering with websites to be able to disrupt them. And then reported fraud losses. So in 2020, we had close to 500,000 calls, close to 132 online reports with a total loss of $164 million. And we know that fraud is on the upward. So as of December 31st, 2021, the reported loss was $379 million. And as of the end of October 2022, that number has already hit $420 million. So fraud is underreported. So it's estimated that less than 5% of fraud is actually reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud. And McMaster University did a study and they say that number is actually closer to 1%. So when we look at these numbers again, you could see that, $379 million times 99. So that number is huge. I put little marks on the screen. I don't know how I did that, but sorry about that. So victim demographics. So mass marketing frauds impacts all regions of Canada and it correlates the population density. So victims spans all education and socioeconomic levels and are evenly distributed amongst males and females, but seniors tend to lose more money on average of 33%. And Canadian Anti-Fraud is seeing an increase of victims under the age of 60 as well. So we say the impact of fraud. So as a call taker, I've actually seen every single one of this, and it's very sad. It's very sad to see. So I've seen people lose their homes, their businesses. They have a reduction in consumer confidence. They can lose their retirement savings. They can live in poverty. There's an increased burden on social system and government system, increased burden on family, marital breakups, spousal violence, physical and emotional harm to children, embarrassment, insurance for family, and depression. And I skipped suicide because a lot of people will tell us, well, why would people become suicidal? Well, just a little story is that we spoke to a victim that was a victim of a romance scam, and then it led to him being victimized with the investment scam. So this gentleman had just recently got divorced. He was looking for a girlfriend online. He found one. but she convinced him to invest some money. So with the investment, this gentleman lost his home, lost his vehicle, because he was concentrating so much on this girlfriend, on all the money that he was to be making. He also lost his job. And throughout all that, he lost his kids. So at the end, he felt like he had nothing left and he couldn't regain what he had lost. So it was very hard on him. So key trends, 2021, victim remittance. So how are people sending money? So prepaid cards was 29%. And then we have 20% was cryptocurrency. And then we have 14% e-transfer and then bank transactions. Oh, sorry, I apologize. Bank transactions is the number one and credit cards is 12%. And how are people being targeted? So the biggest one was direct call with 42%. We had 19% by email, and then we had 14% by internet, and it goes down from there. So fraud initiated by telephone. So there's 4 different ways, or there's 4 different pointers about the fraud initiated by telephone. So automated dialing, that is when a computer program dials a list of telephone numbers when they try to fraud people. So there's different ways that these lists can be created. So they can be stolen from legitimate companies through like a data breach or something. But they can also create them just various numbers from various areas. And as soon as somebody picks up the telephone, you know, sometimes you pick up the telephone and there's nobody there, or it's a recorded message and you press 1 to speak to somebody. Well, that's not actually telling the fraudsters that there's somebody at the end of that line. This is a good line. So what they're doing is that they're creating these good telephone lists to try to fraud people. Another way is that, again, they have computer programs and they will try to target one whole community. So they will create a list of different configurations of telephone numbers within one community to try to fraud them. So robocalls, that is actually when you pick up the telephone and it's a pre-recorded message of a robotic voice of some sort, and they tell you to press 1 to speak to somebody, or they'll, if you did this purchase, please say yes, or press 1 for yes, things like that. So those are robocalls. Anytime it's a robotic voice. Spoofing. So spoofing is very important to understand because a lot of people get caught with this. So the fraudsters will make you see what they want you to see on your caller ID. So either they'll put a name of an organization, law enforcement, lawyers, businesses, or just show a number that is not theirs. So sometimes they'll use a number that resembles your own telephone number, or a telephone number that's within your own community. And that's a trick to make people answer, because they say, you know, oh, is it my doctor calling? Is it my friend? Is it my neighbor? So it's a tactic to make people answer the telephone. So what they're doing is that they're actually camouflaging the number from where they're actually calling from and making you see what they want you to see. So that being said, never trust what you see on your caller ID. So delayed disconnect, this only applies to people that have landlines. So this doesn't count for people that have cell phones, only landlines. So an example of this would be you get a telephone call from Visa. I'm just going to use Visa as an example, saying that they can reduce your interest rate. So as soon as the potential victim starts to question the fraudster will say, you know what, that's fine. Just answer hang up the telephone, go grab your Visa card, call the number on the back of the card, and they'll be able to confirm that we are who we are. So what happens is the line doesn't really get disconnected. So you run, you know, you go to your purse, your wallet, you grab your Visa card, and you pick up that telephone and you start dialing that number right away. And then you can actually hear the dial tone. You can hear yourself punching in the numbers. You can hear it ringing, but who's answering that telephone? It's the fraudster that you were actually speaking to a few minutes before. So our recommendation for that would be to wait a minimum of 10 minutes before calling out. So the line is actually not disconnected. So anybody with a landline, please wait 10 minutes before calling out using the same telephone line, or use a cell phone, go to your neighbor's house if you feel that it's an urgent matter, but I'd wait minimum 10 minutes. So with all these telemarketing calls, our recommendation at the Canadian Anti-Fraud is to put your name on the national do not call list. It'll prevent some of the fraudulent calls or telemarketing calls from coming in. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop all of them, but it's still a recommendation that we have to prevent some of them from coming in. And then we have fraud initiated by email or text message. So the same tactic, spoofing. So spoofing with an email. So again, they will make you see what they want you to see. They're going to copy the name of the company they're trying to be. So in your email, you'll see like from example, this time we'll use Canada Post, from Canada Post, but you won't actually see the email address where it's coming from. So a trick for that would be to take your mouse, hover over the name of the organization, and you'll actually be able to see the true email it's coming from. So that's the spoofing tactic for emails. So another way, if you can't hover your mouse over, you can also click reply, and that'll show you the actual email address it's coming from. So with that, like often fraudsters will use like Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, Google, so those types of domains to fraud people. So if you see a name of an organization like Canada Post and you look at the email address and it says Gmail, well, you know it's not coming from Canada Post, because Canada Post, they have their own domains. So a domain would be anything after the @. So example for OPP, so my email address, Stephanie@opp.ca. So Canada Post, it would be the same. You know, it would be at Canada Post + Canada.ca. So the thing that's really important here is when you're actually looking at that domain, look closely, because these fraudsters can create domains to make it look like it is actually Canada Post, but there'll be a spelling error in it. So sometimes they'll hide an extra A, or they'll put a dot between Canada and Post, or so make sure that when you look at it, you look at it closely. So automation. So that is when, again, a computer program is sending out text messages or emails automatically. So they have a computer program, they put various telephone numbers, various email addresses, and it's automated message that goes out. And an email compromise, well, that is when your actual email address has been compromised, and the fraudster will send emails to your contact list to try to fraud them, usually like in an emergency scam, and we'll go through what that is shortly. And then fraud initiated online. So search engine optimization, that is when you go on the internet and you use a search engine like Google, for example. So not sure, you go on the internet and you start looking for a Dyson vacuum. So you write Dyson in the search engine. So what happens is various websites pop up that sell Dyson vacuums, but just know that fraudsters can pay to have their websites show up on the top results. So again, when you're looking at an email address, make sure that there is no spelling errors in the name of the company. When you go into the website, you know, make sure that it's not hugely discounted, because that's a cue that it could be a fraud. So we always say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And then we'll go to pop-ups. So pop-ups can happen 3 different ways. So one is that you open a website, there's a pop-up that shows up on top of your page. The second way would be that you go into a website, there's a timer that's set, and as soon as the timer is elapsed, the pop-up will show up, or when you X out of a page, the pop-up will appear. So if ever you have pop-ups and you can't get out of them, the best thing to do is just turn your computer off, okay? And then online classifieds. So that would be like Kijiji or like Facebook Marketplace, or anywhere that you can post an item for sale. So fraudsters, what they do is that they will put things for sale on the internet at a good price, and they will try to fraud you with that, or they will try to purchase an item that you have put for sale. So often when they're approaching you to purchase something that you have, they'll offer an overpayment. They'll tell you that somebody will come and pick up the item and you must provide that the amount that they've overpaid you to the delivery person. That's one cue. Something else is that they'll send you a check for way too much money, and they'll ask you to redirect the extra funds by e-transfer somewhere else. And then the check bounces, and then you're out that amount of money. So online classifieds, it could be anything from something for sale. It could be a job. It could be an animal. It could be a rental. So that would all fall into that. And then fake website and fake information, it's pretty much one thing. So we know that fraudsters can create fake websites using fake information from legitimate websites. And then we have stolen credit cards. So stolen credit cards, we know that fraudsters will use stolen credit cards to make purchases online. That being said, if somebody is to make a purchase online, using your credit card is the best way to make purchases online, because your credit card company is fairly good at protecting you for things like that. An example of that, just myself, I had purchased a little scooter for my daughter from a website online that I thought it looked legit, and I never got the scooter. So I called my credit card company and they questioned me, when did you buy it? How much did you pay? What did you buy? And so I explained everything to them. And when they actually looked at the transaction on my credit card, it said it was a furniture store in China. So they reimbursed me right away. Sometimes they need to do their own investigation, which is fine. And then usually they come to a conclusion that it was a fraudulent business. So social media. So again, fake accounts can be created on social media. Often what they'll do is that they will steal photos from legitimate people to create these fake accounts. So just be very careful what you post online, because whatever you post online can be stolen by fraudsters. And when they create these fake accounts, they can try to fraud people in various ways through the Messenger app mostly. Social media bots. So social media bots would be when somebody is creating a fake account, but using well-known people like Elon Musk, for example, or any celebrity, and they try to convince you of something. So they put false advertisements on those fake accounts to convince you of something. So one that's very popular is investment in cryptocurrency, and they're good. They'll create these accounts, they'll put articles, and there'll be links in those articles to like cryptocurrency platforms, and then it convinces people of something. Compromised accounts. So that is when your personal account gets compromised. And again, these fraudsters will send messages to your contact list to try to fraud you. So a few examples of that would be that you get a message from your friend, or you think it's your friend, and they'll try to get you to buy something, or they'll tell you that they're stuck in Mexico, they missed their flight, they're trying to buy a new ticket, and for some reason their credit card's not working, can you lend me some money? Or it could be that they were eligible for a grant and they think you would be eligible too, and they provide you with a link. Or it could be that they saw your name on a prize list, and the list can go on. So these compromised accounts can cause a lot of issues. So we always say, keep your passwords safe. Make sure that you use the double authentication for any accounts that you have. Don't use the same password with two different websites. And if ever you do get one of those messages that sounds kind of odd, like I always say, how we should have passwords with our kids, with our grandkids. So I have a password with my daughter, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but let's just say it's banana. So I know that if I get a telephone call from my daughter and she says, "Hey mom, can you stop at the store and buy me some bananas?" I know there's something wrong, because she doesn't like bananas. So same thing with that. So if you get a message from somebody that you know and it sounds a little odd, well, ask them. Like if she's your euchre partner, say, oh, what day do we play euchre? You know it's Tuesday. So the person answers Wednesday, you know they're wrong. So something similar to that. Or what's your husband's name? Or who lives across, what street do you live on? Or it could be very, very simple, but it's answers that they could only answer. And advertisement, I just said it, there's a lot of advertisement online. There's a lot of fraudulent ones. So just be very careful that you look closely for spelling errors, formatting errors. You know, if it sounds too good to be true, it sounds too good to be true. Don't ever provide personal information if you're clicking on these links, because sometimes they'll only ask for a little bit of information, but that little bit of information may lead to you being victimized in the future. The fraud initiated by mail or person. So this is the oldest one in the book. So fraudsters will use templates to try to convince you that they're a legitimate lawyer's office, for example. The two most popular ones right now is that you've received a letter in the mail from a lawyer and they're using the lawyer template and they're telling you that you've inherited $3 million from a long lost relative. Please call here within so many days. You know, they make it sound urgent. And the other one would be letting you know that you've won a prize. So it could be a Reader's Digest, Publishers Clearinghouse, or things like that. Stamps. So fraudsters will purchase stamps using stolen credit cards. So Canada Post has told us that there's approximately $10 million of stamps being bought fraudulently every year. Fraudsters are going over and above now with stamps. So, you know, like when you get a letter from the government or your hydro company or any business, and there's like the stamp is like printed on, so it could be pink or it could be like a black printed on stamp. So fraudsters are actually doing that now. So employees will come to your door. They'll try to get a donation from you. They could tell you that they're in the area doing duct cleaning, changing windows. They're trying to sell you magazines or a vacuum like back in the day. So these employees will have uniforms. They will have hats with badges. They will have a clipboard. And then they do use, oh, somebody is not on mute. Okay, so then.
Sorry, Darlene, can you put yourself on mute, please? Not you, not Darlene Cox. I think we're good now. Sorry about that, Stephanie.
Okay, that's okay. There was just a lot of echo when I was talking. And then they will use high sales pressure tactics. You know, they'll say, this offer is only available now. Sign this contract now and you could get a new furnace. You know, so they make it sound too good to be true. Okay, so top 10 frauds by number of reports. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because there's a lot of information here, but everybody can see it. So ID fraud, personal information, and phishing. At the end, you can see the dollar loss is NA. So that means that nobody has lost money to this because fraudsters are not looking for money in these frauds. They're actually looking to steal your personal or financial information. So the amount of victims for ID frauds was the same amount of reports that we received, 4,853. Extortion scams, 2,483 with 391 victims. Service scam, 1,525. And just a little bit over 1,000 as victims. And then I'll skip slides because this one is top 10 frauds by dollar losses. So you can see here, there's 449 victims, but the total loss was $38 million. I mean, I'm not good at math, but I know that's a lot of money per person. Romance scam, 251 victims with $19.1 million lost. Service scams, 1,051 with 4.9 million loss. Extortion, 391 victims with $4.5 million loss. So those numbers are huge. So now I'm going to take a little drink. I'm going to jump to investment scams. So in the most popular investment scam would be like cryptocurrency, like Bitcoins. So it's any false, deceptive, misleading, or fraudulent investment opportunity, often higher than normal returns. And in this fraud, victims often lose all of their money. So we recommend to always verify if a company is registered with your Provincial Securities Commission before you invest. One of the investments in here would be like a pyramid scheme. It's not as popular as it used to be, but it's still there. But the most popular one, like I said, would be investing in like cryptocurrency. So I'm not sure if you are all familiar with what cryptocurrency is, but people are convinced because this is a scam that will tell you that you'll get a lot, like your money will double, triple in so many days. So what these fraudsters are doing is that they will create articles saying that they tripled their money in, you know, Elon Musk, I made $10 million in 24 hours. So you're like, oh, if Elon Musk made a lot of money, I probably will too, even investing a little bit of money. And then those articles will link you to websites that will confirm what the article says. And within that website, there'll be other links to cryptocurrency platforms. So these cryptocurrency platforms, sorry, I talk with my hands, but these cryptocurrency platforms, what they look like, they're very similar to like stocks. You know, you see the stock go up one day, you see the stock go down, you see the stock go up, you see the stock go down. So fraudsters will create these platforms to make you see that you're making money, but really your money is not in that platform. It's actually long gone and the fraudsters have it in their hands. The reason why they make you see that is because they're making you see that your money has tripled or quadrupled in a certain amount of time. And that's how they convince you to invest more. So usually they'll convince people to invest about $250 or $500. And then within the next day, the money is doubled. So they'll convince them to put more money, more money, more money. So as soon as the investor starts doubting themselves, or they want to take their money out, you know, they said, okay, I invested $100,000, it's at $2 million, I'm good, I'm set for life with $2 million. They want to withdraw their money. So the fraudsters will tell them that, you know, why are you withdrawing your money? That 2 million could double in like the next month or so. And then they will prove to them that it's easy to take their money out of their investments. So they will allow them to withdraw a small amount of money. So sometimes, like, you know, oh, we'll give you $1,000 so you can see how easy it is. So they take $1,000, they put it back in the victim's bank account, and they're like, oh yeah, it was really easy. You know, it just took about 15 minutes and we got this all done. So they keep their money in there and they keep investing until they have no more money to invest. And then they decide, okay, now I'm taking everything out because it's true. My $2 million did double to $4 million or whatever. The numbers could be smaller. I'm just using these big numbers. So when they try to withdraw that $4 million that they think they have, there's additional fees. So there'll be commission fees, service fees, taxes to be paid, and the lawyer fees. And so the list can go on and on. So at that point, that's when people go in the hole because they don't have that money, but they know they have $4 million sitting there. So they'll remortgage their houses, they'll take lines of credit, they'll max their credit cards, and so on. And even if they pay that money, they don't get their money back. Okay, so romance scam. So this is probably the one that affects me the most because people at the end of all of this, people need to choose, do I keep sending this money to this fraudster, even if they know that they're being part of a scam because they've fallen in love with this person because this person is giving them a lot of attention. So they need to choose, do I keep sending money to this person or do I lose them forever? And then their heart's broken, right? So when these romance scams start, they could start on dating websites or social media and know that these fraudsters will create these accounts using stolen photos from legitimate people and sometimes even celebrities. And their background stories will often mimic the person that they're victimizing. So if that person is widowed, they will also be widowed. If that person has 3 grandkids, they will also have 3 grandkids. If you like walking on the beach, they also like walking on the beach. If you like to go fishing, they also like to go fishing. So they make you fall in love with them, and usually people fall in love with them quickly. Something else that they'll do is that instead of using your name, they will actually use like my dear, my love. Why? Because they're doing this to more than one person at the same time, and they don't want to mess up the name. So just know that these fraudsters are professionals, they're con artists, and a lot of them work together. You know, they have warehouses of people working together. So if one person can't fraud you, they'll sell your information to another fraudster so they can try to fraud you. Or even sometimes if you've been part of one fraud, you'll be linked to another fraud because fraudsters share the information. So these relationships can last for months and years. I've spoken to a lady that was in a romance scam for 4 years, and she sent all of her money. So I'll give you an example of that in a little bit. But so what happens is that the fraudster will always say that they're very successful people. They have a really good job. You know, they work overseas, or they're in the military, and for whatever reason, they need to borrow money. So examples of that would be that they receive an inheritance from their father because they're overseas on a boat somewhere working in the oil field. They can't access their bank account, but there's lawyer fees to pay to receive that inheritance, and they ask you to pay that, and they'll reimburse you with an extra percentage, or they'll double your money. So people will pay. Sometimes it would be that they've inherited gold bars and they can't deposit them where they are, so they're going to ship them to you. So they get them shipped, and then Canada Border Service calls the victim and says, you know, we have this package that's really heavy, but there's duty to pay on it. So people will pay duty fees. It could be that they're in the hospital and they have medical bills to pay and they've lost their wallet. It could be that they're trying to purchase a flight ticket to come and see you in Canada or in Ontario. And for whatever reason, their credit card's not working. Can you pay my flight? It could be, there's so many different reasons. So one lady was in a romance scam, not for long, thankfully, because she realized it quickly, but she still lost about $7,000. So she fell in love with this gentleman working abroad in the military, and he's from New York. So he had a daughter that was staying in New York with a nanny because he was widowed, and the nanny couldn't get paid because he couldn't access his money. So he asked his victim to pay $2,000 for the nanny for 2 weeks. And he said, don't worry, I'll pay you back as soon as I can figure out things with the bank. So anyways, this lady sends $2,000, and then he asks for another $2,000. And the lady said, oh no, I don't have that amount of money, I can't pay. But he's like, but my daughter will be left on the street, I don't know what to do. What would you do if I was your kid? So I thought you loved me, and you're the only one that I can trust. And anyway, so she said no. But then the daughter got hit by a vehicle and ended up in the hospital. So now there's the nanny to pay, but there's also hospital bills to pay. So then the guilt, right? He said, my daughter is going to die. Can you please lend me some more money? So they make it convincible, and they'll send pictures, they'll send videos, and know that these pictures and videos are stolen. And most often, they're using the same pictures and same videos to fraud multiple people. So one thing I can say about this is that, it's, with this day and age, a lot of people date online. It's fine, but if there's always excuses not to meet in person, if you can't see the person even in a video chat, that's another cue. If you are to meet somebody, go tell somebody first, but go like somewhere like Tim Hortons where you're in the public, there's cameras. Never provide personal information, like don't send pictures of your passport. Even if they're saying that they're buying you a flight ticket, they need a picture of your passport. No, and never send intimate photos to them either, and never send money, not even gift cards. This one gentleman told me that he was sending gift cards because that's how he was paying for the lady's internet. So that's that. So extortion. So extortion happens when somebody unlawfully obtains money, property, service from a person or entity or institution through coercion. So an example of this would be that you get a telephone call from Service Canada. It would be the social insurance number scan. So actually it's an automated telephone call with a robotic message telling you to press 1 to speak to a representative because your social insurance number has been compromised. And they're going to threaten you saying that there could be jail time because your social insurance number has been used in fraudulent activity. So if you don't cooperate with them, you can go to jail and there could be arrest warrants and they can put a lien on your house. So the threats can go on and on. So the scammer will request some personal information from you. So your social insurance number, your date of birth, your address, and they will often ask you to empty your bank account and put it in a government secure account. So what these government secure accounts are is that they're like Bitcoin accounts, and they will get people to go to a Bitcoin machine and put their money into the Bitcoin machine. And once the investigation has been completed, they're going to get their money back. So what are these Bitcoin machines? So they look like ATM machines. You know, you go to a corner store, you want to withdraw some money from an ATM. Well, they're very similar. They're black and yellow, but instead of you taking money out of there, is you put money into there. So once the money is in there, in the Bitcoin wallet, they call it, as soon as it's in there, the fraudster will take the money and redirect it somewhere else. So how do you put money into one of those accounts is that they will provide you with like a QR code. So, you know, like when during COVID, if we wanted to go to the restaurant, we had to show proof of our vaccination. So either it was on our telephone or on a piece of paper and they scan that square. So that's what the QR code is. So that would be the Bitcoin account, or it could also be about 26 letters and numbers. And they give you that and you punch it into the machine and the money goes into the Bitcoin account. So just know that you do not pay any government with Bitcoins or gift cards, okay? Another example of this would be, so pretty much anytime that there is a threat, right? So another one would be your hydro company calls you, tells you that your bill is overdue and they're gonna shut your hydro off now. So you need to make an immediate payment. So these immediate payments would be, again, the Bitcoin is immediate to them and the gift cards is immediate to them. So please know that you cannot make a payment with the government or any business using gift cards or Bitcoin. So while we're talking about gift cards, I'll add a little bit to that because I know a lot of people have been wondering what's happening with these gift cards. So number one rule is that you do not pay anything with a gift card. Gift cards are to be purchased as presents only. If you are purchasing a gift card, make sure that you ask the cashier to scan it to make sure that the money is actually on the card. You keep that receipt and you give it to the person that you give the gift card to as proof. Something that's been happening as well is that fraudsters are putting, you know, like if it's a Visa gift card, for example, there's like the credit card number on the back. So that's what the cashier scans to put the money on the card. So what fraudsters are doing is that they're taking stickers and hiding that number with their number. So when that cashier actually scans the card, the money goes directly to the fraudster's account and not on the card. So one thing that I can recommend for that is that if you are to purchase a gift card for a gift, make sure that that number is actually covered. So now you can buy gift cards that are in a cardboard. So the cashier actually needs to rip the package to scan the card. Those are safe. or the ones that you actually have to scratch off the number to be able to use it. And then another way for extortion would be that you receive a pop-up on your computer, or you get a telephone call from a computer company, so Microsoft, Amazon, there's so many out there, letting you know that there's a virus on your computer and that you may lose everything if you don't fix it now. So that is one. So these warning signs, these pop-up warning signs that show up on your computer, I have to say they are a little scary, because I know it's happened to me. So I had my computer open, my daughter and I were searching for something. I think it was during Christmas time, and all of a sudden the screen went black, not blank, black, with a big red warning on top, and it was flashing, and it was beep, 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 warning, warning, beep. And we were like, oh my God, what's happening? So if that ever happens to you, the best thing to do is just turn off your computer. So hold the power button until the computer is off and unplug your internet. Some people will reopen their computer right away and see, oh, everything's been fixed. But know that if that warning sign popped up on your computer, there could be malware in your computer as well, okay? So bring your computer to a technician, or run antivirus software on your computer to make sure that there's no viruses or malware in your computer. And then service scam. So service scams are anything that's offering a service. So the three most popular ones: tech support. So like I just said, you get a telephone call saying that we can help you remove a virus that's on your computer, or you get a pop-up on your computer asking you to call a specific number to fix the problem in your computer. Most often there is a problem with your computer. Most often they will fix the problem, but most often they will have access to your computer and all the information that's in it. So your passwords, if you keep credit cards, your notice of assessment that has your social insurance number on it, your tax return, things like that. So they are there to steal the information and your credit card number. So there's going to be a fee. Sometimes the fee isn't much. It could be like $50 and we'll fix your computer. They do. But then they may not use your credit card to do purchases online, but there'll be additional fees, like monthly fees to pay. And then when people realize, it's too late. Another example would be the low interest rate. So you get a telephone call from your credit card company saying that they can offer you a low interest rate on your credit card. Home repairs and products. Kind of went through that a little bit earlier, but they'll go to your door. Employees with badges will go to your door and try to sell you something at a reduced cost. Or it could be, they say that they are in your area changing windows, your house, to change all your windows, it'll cost you $10,000. But today, because we're here, if you sign this contract now and give us a deposit, it'll be $6,000. Wow, what a deal, right? So again, if it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Another example of this would be purchasing like a flight with a third-party company. So third-party companies, some of them are okay, some of them are not, but honestly, I would go directly to the source. Like if you're flying to Barbados, go to Air Canada, purchase your ticket through Air Canada. These third-party companies will offer you lower prices, but in the end, there'll be additional fees and you'll actually be paying more. Another example of this would be anything through the government. So your passport, Nexus, or your pension or disability or things like that. So there's like third-party companies on the internet that will say that they can do this for you, and there'll be a small fee associated to it or a big fee associated to it. They will do the work for you, but they're also stealing your personal information and your money. So an example of this one, again, in my household, my husband and I wanted to apply for Nexus. We're traveling to the United States next year, and we just figured, it'd be a lot easier if we had Nexus. So I went on the government website and I applied for Nexus, and there's warning signs about fraud, third-party fraudulent agencies trying to pose as them. So I read all that. I'm in fraud, so I might as well educate myself. So I applied for it. It cost me $50. I saw it on my Visa card. Okay, $50, they're getting this done. I tell my husband, you should do it too. It was really easy. So he goes on the internet, he goes on a fraudulent website, and he told me that, oh, I got a call from a lady saying that they're doing my interview tomorrow. I'm like, what? The website said it would take up to a year. He's like, yeah, I know, but they promised, and they even said that they could do yours at the same time. I'm like, okay, well, what's the fee? He's like, well, it's $2,000 per person. I'm like, whoa, babe, stop, please stop. He's like, why? I'm like, it's only $50, and they can't promise to do it faster because they have to go through the same steps as I'm going to go through with the real government agency. So just be cautious of those third-party companies. And then we have the bank investigator scam. This one is fairly complex, but you'll get a telephone call from anywhere you have an account. So it could be Amazon, it could be your bank, it could be your credit card company. And they're saying that there was fraudulent activities on your card or on your account, but they think they know who it is and they need your help to investigate. So how they're going to do that is, first of all, they're going to remotely access into your computer, because most seniors don't know how to access their credit card, their bank accounts, or even their Amazon account on their computer. But these investigators are really nice, so they're going to help you, right? So you log into your computer or laptop or cell phone, you give them access to your laptop. So number one, never give access to your phone, laptop, tablet to anybody, because they are there to steal your information. So what they do, so we'll use your bank account as an example. So they'll go into your bank account and they'll withdraw $540, example. And they'll show the person on the computer, look, somebody frauded you $540. Was that you? No, it wasn't me. So, okay. So they'll tell you, okay, go to the bank, withdraw $10,000 from the bank, and the bank teller is to question you, but lie to her. Okay, so if they're telling you to lie, that's one thing. But if the person says, well, I don't have $10,000 to take out of my bank account, they're like, don't worry, sir, we'll put the $10,000 in there. So what they're actually doing is that they're keeping you busy. You know, they're like, okay, my name is Sam Smith, and my ID is 47B2LK9. The case ID is G2. Write this down. Do you have a G2P? So they distract you while they're in your computer. So most often what they'll do is that people have two accounts, example. So they'll have the checking account, the savings, or the line of credit, or whatever. So the fraudsters will take the $10,000 from the line of credit and move it to the checking account, but only show the person the victim, that there's $10,000 in their account, and people see, oh yeah, look, you did put $10,000 in my account. That's cool. Okay, I'll help you now. So people go to the bank and they take out the money. And most of the time, these fraudsters will keep them on the telephone the whole time as well. So once the money is withdrawn, the bank investigator will say, oh, you know what, I don't think it was her. We think it might be somebody from the local Shoppers Drug Mart, or the Giant Tiger. So the fraudsters know that that's in your area because they do your research before with any scam. They do their research before actually targeting a community. So they'll tell you to go to those stores and buy gift cards and then give them the gift card numbers because it's their money, right? So they do that, and then the victims soon realize that the money has been taken out of their account and it's gone because they took the money out, bought gift cards, and gave it to the fraudster. So again, never give gift card numbers to anybody over the telephone or by email, and never send pictures of them either, okay? And then we go to the prize scam. So consumers are informed that they are the winner of a large lottery or sweepstake, even though they have never entered to win. So the two most popular ones, like I said earlier, Reader's Digest and Publishers Clearinghouse. So these can be initiated in various different ways. So it could be you received an email, you got a letter in the mail, it could be by telephone, it could be by social media, it could be a website pop-up, it could be a message from a friend on Messenger saying, oh, I saw your name on a prize list, go and look, you know. So often you would win a few $1,000,000 and a vehicle, a BMW, a Ford truck, and then there's advance fees to pay. So these advance fees, again, could be for various reasons. Sometimes they'll say because the lottery is in the United States, you need to pay taxes, or the vehicle is also in the United States, you need to pay duty on that vehicle for it to cross the border. It could be for a lawyer. It could be, also one lady told us that she needed to pay $300 to get her name changed on the check. So, you know, those big checks when you win something, you know, they go to your house with a camera crew and they hand you that big check, you hold the check, they take pictures and they put it all over the news. Well, their excuse for the $300 was that her name was misspelled on the check. So, you know, it could be for anything. Okay. So 2 things about that as well is that please know that in Canada, you do not pay any advance fees to claim any prize. A ticket cannot be purchased on your behalf. And something else like the fraudsters will use is they'll say, like, if they know that there's a metro in your town, they'll say, oh no, man, you know, you didn't enter the draw. Well, it's because you shopped at Metro more than 6 times this month, so your name was automatically put into a draw. Just know that that does not happen. These agencies like Metro cannot share your personal information without you knowing. Phishing and smishing. So these ones are when you receive an email or a text message with a link of some sort. So these links are there to capture your personal and your financial information. So they can come from most of the time the government or, you know, Canada Post or Amazon, Pure Later. There's so many out there. There's so many fraudulent emails out there. It's unbelievable. But one of the most popular ones would be the government saying that they have a refund for you. So, you know, when the fraudster, or sorry, you know, when the news announced that we were getting refunds for our license plate stickers, well, within 2 days, we started to get reports saying that people have been frauded with that. So another example would be that you get an email from Canada Post saying that they tried to deliver a package. And we know during COVID that almost everybody had a package on its way at one point or another. So receiving these emails seemed kind of legit. So the email would say that they tried to deliver the package to your home. You weren't there. Now there's $1 fee for the package to be resent. Another one would be that you receive a text message from your credit card company saying that there's fraudulent activity on your account. Please click yes if you did this transaction or no. Another one would be that your account has been locked and you need to unlock your account. So when we're clicking on these links to unlock our account, it'll pop up. So let's just say you have Outlook. So they'll say your Outlook has been locked. You know, if you don't unlock it within 24 hours, you'll lose all your emails. People start to panic. They click on the link and they need to enter their passwords to unlock their account. Well, what that is doing is that's providing your password to the fraudster. So now they can compromise your email account. So with this one, just know that you never click on any links and provide your personal or financial or credit card information, because fraudsters will use it. And if they don't use it, they will sell it to other fraudsters for them to fraud you. And another thing, you know, we always say that these frauds can start with one fraud and end up being another fraud. So if you've been a victim of one fraud, please know that your information is out there. And if they can't fraud you with the prize scam, well, they will try the recovery scam. So recovery scam is one that's not in my presentation. And I want to make sure that you all are aware what this is. If you've been a victim of fraud and you have lost money, The recovery scam is an agency that will call you or email you to let you know that they know that you've lost a lot of money. They work with the government, they work with the law enforcement. They found out that you lost a lot of money, but really they are working for these fraudsters, and they say that they can recoup your money for a small fee. So you get frauded again. So they'll collect the fee from you, and please know they're not going to recover any money. They're not even going to do any work, but they're going to convince you that they can do it. Identity theft. So identity theft occurs when a victim's personal information is stolen or compromised. So this could be that you voluntarily gave your information to somebody through a scam. It could be that you've lost your wallet and your information is in the fraudster's hands, or it could be like a data breach or something like that. So when somebody's personal information is out there, we call that identity theft. Identity fraud is when the personal information is actually used. So it could be used, most often it's to get credit. So, or at those fast money, cash money places, they'll do like little loans. Sometimes they can even buy vehicles. Sometimes they can do anything they want with your personal information. So a popular way would be to somebody steals your personal information. They go to the local Walmart, Canadian Tire. And you know, when you do large purchases at those stores, sometimes they'll ask you, you want to apply for the credit card? Or people can ask, oh, can I apply for the credit card? Well, they have the ID, so they will do a large purchase. They will apply for the credit card, put that purchase on the credit card, and then they leave the store. So what happens is that the credit card will be mailed to your house. So that being said, if ever you get a credit card in the mail and you know that you haven't requested a credit card, then please make sure that you call that credit card company and let them know that you received a credit card and it didn't belong to you. A recommendation for this would be to place alerts with the credit bureaus, especially if your social insurance number has been compromised, because once your personal information is in the fraudster's hands, they may not use it today, they may use it in 5 years from now. So if your information is in the fraudster's hands, they have it for life. So that means you are vulnerable for life. Then we go to emergency scam. So emergency scam is where any type of emergency is happening. So it could be that your friend's email was compromised and you received an email from a fraudster claiming to be your friend saying they need help. You know, they could be, you know, they're in the hospital, they have throat cancer, and it's their granddaughter's birthday, and can you buy her a gift card for me? So people will go to the store, get a gift card, they will give the gift card number to who they think is their friend, and then they soon realize that their friend's either email or social media account has been compromised. It could be that they have medical bills to pay. It could be that they're at the grocery store and their credit card's blocked. Can you give me your credit card number? It's just $32, you know. Or it could be that you know, they went on a trip and they lost their credit card and they can't buy their return ticket. It could be a lot of things, but the one that is the most important is the emergency grandparent scam. This happens a lot. It's very sophisticated. These are professionals and they know exactly what they're doing. They work in groups, they target communities. So if somebody has been a target within your community, please know that somebody else will be targeted or victimized. So for this one, there's two different variations. So no matter what, is you get a telephone call from somebody claiming to be your grandchild. Sometimes these fraudsters will have your grandchild's name because they found it on Facebook. They saw it in your husband or wife's obituary. And because I say they do their research, they look at obituaries and they see, oh, look, Mr. Jones just passed away. That's very sad. Let's target Ms. Jones because we know she's vulnerable right now. So they'll find the contact information. So if they don't have the grandchild's name, most of the time the senior will actually give it to them. So the phone rings, they answer, hello, hello. Oh, hi, grandma. Oh, is this Noah? Yes, it's Noah, Grandma. And then they start crying. And please know that because they're so good at what they do, like they'll hear background noises. And the background noises are people screaming, people crying. They'll hear sirens. They'll hear like the CBs going. They'll hear the police officers yelling at somebody. So, but they can't talk for long. So the only words that actually come out and say, Grandma, I'm in trouble, or Grandpa, I'm in trouble. You need to help me. Please don't tell my mom. Please don't tell my dad. You know, I'll be in so much trouble. And then the police officer takes the line. So the police officer will explain to the grandparent one of two stories. One is that, Noah was driving way too fast on the highway within your own community because they do their research, and he got stopped by the cops, and he was with a friend and they found drugs in the trunk. They know the drugs don't belong to Noah, but he was still in the car, so he's in trouble. Or that Noah was driving down whatever street in their own community and hit a lady that was pregnant and killed the baby. So those are the two storylines that they're using right now. So they'll ask for payment for bail or to avoid jail time, or they'll say that there's a gag order, so you can't tell anybody. And they request large amounts of money. So usually between $5 and $9 million. The scary thing with this is that they will go to your house and pick up the money. They know where you live at this point. So they'll ask you to put the money, in an envelope under the doormat or in a shoebox at the door, or they'll tell you to put it in an envelope in the mailbox. And the reason why is because a bondsman will go and pick it up, and they don't want any contact with you because he has COVID, or another excuse, but that's the most popular one. The other way would be that they ask you to send the money through a courier service, so like Express Post, Pure Later, FedEx, name it. They'll do their research. They know what's within your community, and that's how they'll ask you to send the money. They even go over and above, and sometimes if the senior has no way of getting to the bank to withdraw the money, they will send a taxi for them and they will pay for the taxi. So yeah, this one, people do get caught with this. And, some people will tell us, well, they could see the person coming to the door. Yeah, but sometimes it's a fraudster that's going to the door, but he's walking over. So he gets dropped off by a car, a block or two away. He walks over and he grabs they grab the money and they leave. But sometimes they'll just stop a random kid on the street and say, hey, you want to make $300? Sure. Okay, well, go in that mailbox, grab the envelope for me, and I'll give you $300. So sometimes people are involved and not even know what they're doing. A story with this one is that I had received a report from a gentleman that lost $15,000. So he had made 2 payments. And the sad thing is that he had the money in his house. So the people came and picked up the money in his house. But the whole time, the grandson lived in the basement, and he was actually in the basement. But it was during the winter. It was really cold. It was storming. Grandpa's over 90 years old. He didn't have the energy or the time to go downstairs and see if he was there. And honestly, he didn't even question that maybe his grandson would be downstairs. So it's very sad how that happens. So presentation is almost done. And I know that I have said probably every single one of these, but this is the important part. So I want to say it again, okay? And I'm going to read these to you. So how to protect yourself. Do not open or click the link in unsolicited emails or text messages, as they may contain malware. Look for spelling and formatting errors in emails and text messages. Verify the hyperlink behind the link's text and emails by hovering over the text with your mouse. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Never share passwords. So passwords, I know a lot of people will tell us, there's passwords for everything. It's so complicated, and we tell them, never share passwords. Never save passwords in your computer. Don't use the same passwords. Use the double authentication. change your passwords often. So passwords are becoming a headache. We all know. So my dad is a senior, and he told me something that I said, I need to share this in my presentations because it makes sense. So, you know, these, the little plastic boxes for like recipes that we had back in the day. So my dad has one of those. And, you know, they're all alphabetized. I can't say that word, I'm French. Alphabetized. No, I can't say it. Sorry. I'll try again next time. But so he'll put like, you know, his Facebook account is under the F. So he just needs to pull that little card and he'll look under the F. Okay, this is my password for Facebook. Oh, my bank, I'll go under B, bank. Oh, my whatever account, Amazon account under A, he knows they're there. So that's how he keeps his passwords organized. And that's what allows him to have different passwords for every single account. And if he needs to change passwords, so if one of his accounts was compromised, and I tell him, Dad, you need to change all your passwords, tells me it's okay, Steph, I have them all organized. So I think that little plastic recipe box thing is a really good way to keep your passwords safe. So then, if there's just a little bit of doubt, hang up the phone and call the family member, call the business, law enforcement, or government they are claiming to be. So that being said, never trust a phone number that you see in an email. Never trust a telephone number that's been given to you over the telephone or in a pop-up. Use the number that you are familiar with, okay? So if you need to call Visa, go grab your Visa card. If you need to call your hydro company, grab your bill. The number will be on there. And talk to people. You know, a lot of people don't want to share that they've been frauded or they may have been frauded because they don't want to lose their independence. They don't want their kids to block their accounts or limit their spending or things like that. So when I say talk to people, it doesn't need to be the closest people to you. Who it needs to be is anyone. You know, you could be sitting on a park bench and somebody sits beside you and say, hey, have you ever heard of the Reader's Digest Prize? And then that person might know that it's a fraud and they'll tell you. Or it could be somebody on the bus, or it could be you in the taxi, or it could be you sitting at church. Well, don't talk in church, but you know what I mean. So it could be somebody, your crib partner. It could be your dart partner, somebody at the local Legion you go to. Just talk to somebody. You know, if there's just a little bit of doubt, talk to somebody about it, okay? So be careful what you post online. Details shared on social media platforms and dating sites can be used for targeting purposes. So when I say be careful what you post on social media and online, could be the simplest thing. So if you're a grandmother and your grandson, Noah, again, just got his driver's license. So, you know, grandparents are proud, parents are proud. So we'll share a picture of Noah with his permit and say, congratulations, Noah. You know, yes, it's fine, but take out the Noah. Just say, congratulations, buddy. Things like that. Another small thing is that on social media, people will put their status, you know, you're married, separated, divorced, widowed, take that out because fraudsters look for that. And they know that people that are separated, divorced, widowed are may be lonely, not all of them, but may be lonely. And they are, again, vulnerable, the vulnerable sector. So scammers use technology to disguise the actual email or telephone number they are calling or emailing from. So spoofing, remember we talked about spoofing, the fraudsters will make you see what they want you to see. So never trust what's on your caller ID or the email it's coming from. And then beware of individuals quickly professing their love to you. Beware of individuals who claim to be wealthy but need to borrow money. Be suspicious of anyone who can't meet in person. Never send intimate photos or videos of yourself as they may be used to blackmail you. So there's, you know, the extortion scam where I said there's a threat of some sort. So there's one out there now that's called sextortion. So if somebody sends an intimate photo to somebody, that person may come back to you and say, give me $1,000 or I'm going to share that with your coworkers. And even if you pay that money, there'll be more threats and you need to send more money. And not often in seniors, most often in young men, like young teenagers. men and women. And there's even been suicides because of this sextortion scam. So never send or accept money under any circumstance, as you may unknowingly be participating in money laundering, which is a criminal offense. Never allow an individual to remotely access your computer. If you are experiencing problems with your operating system, bring it to a technician. Be sure to end the original call and wait a few minutes before calling out. Credit card companies will not contact you and ask you to help catch a criminal. Never provide personal or financial information unless you initiated the call and you are 100% sure it's a trusted source. So question yourself, where did I find this number? Why am I providing this? So social insurance numbers, so that's another thing. So when you apply for a credit card, or you open a bank account, or they can ask for your 2 cards, right? 2 IDs. We need 2 IDs. Often they'll ask for your social insurance number, driver's license. I personally will never give my social insurance number unless I 100% have to. So I would say, no, I have my driver's license, but is there another option? I don't like giving my social insurance number out. Even if it's just a partial number, even with credit cards, never just give partials, because they may have the rest of your number already. So for example, credit cards. If you have a Visa card, I know that my husband and I, the first 8 digits are the exact same numbers. So how easy would it be for fraudsters to figure out what the other 8 digits are if you give them 4 of the last 4, for example? And then beware of any urgency. Research all companies and contractors offering services before hiring them. Something else too is that if ever a fraudster is asking you to do a transaction, like a withdrawal at the bank, like example in the emergency scam, often the fraudsters will tell you to lie to the teller why you're taking the money out. And something else with that is that they may even send you to a different branch because they don't know your normal spending habits. Often in frauds, if you are sending money somewhere for whatever reason, so we'll use a direct deposit as an example, let's just say to a boyfriend in a romance scam, it'll never be sent to their name. Or a package that is being sent because you sold an item that you had for sale, it'll never be sent to the actual person that you're communicating with. It'll always be sent somewhere else. So people will tell us, well, why can't they find these people? If they have these addresses, they have their names. Well, what they're doing is that they're actually sending these packages at vacant houses that have mailboxes, or vacant lots that have mailboxes, or they're sending them to parcel warehouses, and they go and pick it up with a fraudulent ID they have. So there's a lot of different ways that fraudsters have thought about so they don't get caught, right? And then we go, governments will not contact you and tell you that your social insurance number has been compromised, nor will they threaten you with legal action. Again, here, you cannot pay a bill to the government using Bitcoins, wire transfer, gift cards, cryptocurrency, a money service business through Canada Post or something like that. And know that no government or law enforcement will demand an immediate payment or to submit all your money for investigations. And the only way to participate in any lottery is to purchase a ticket. A ticket cannot be purchased on your behalf, and there are no advance fees in Canada to collect the prize. And in Canada, if you win a lottery, I just said that. Bing, all done. So what to do if you are a victim though? So if you are a victim, we ask that you gather all the information pertaining to the fraud. So what is important to law enforcement and the Canadian anti-fraud? Well, that we know how it was initiated. So did you receive a phone call, an email? Who contacted you? The name of the person, the business, the telephone number, email addresses, websites, if you made payment, how, when, how much. Those are the important things for us. So you gather all the information that you have. And then you contact the 2 major credit bureaus if your personal information has been compromised. The reason why we ask you to contact both credit bureaus, Equifax and TransUnion, is because they are responsible for different financial institutions. So they have packages that you can pay for, that if something is happening with your IDs, that they will send you an alert asking you, is it actually you that's applying for this credit card or this loan? The other way around that, because some people will tell us, well, I don't want to pay for that package. It's important to monitor it yourself. There's no fee to monitor it yourself. And even if your personal information is not in the hands of fraudsters, I recommend to everybody to create accounts with Equifax and TransUnion and keep an eye on it yourself. And then you report the incident to your local law enforcement. Some law enforcement detachments will tell you that they're not going to take a report for you because they can't investigate, and they'll redirect you to the Canadian Anti-Fraud. And that is 100% sure, because remember that whatever information is in our database, we can share it with law enforcement. So this is why they created the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. So to report fraud, sorry, one second. So reporting fraud. So you can report to the Canadian Anti-Fraud whether you've been a victim or not. You can report to the Canadian Anti-Fraud if you're a person or a business. You can report to the Canadian Anti-Fraud on behalf of somebody else with or without their knowledge, even if you have just a little bit of information. And then the other thing is that you can even report anonymously. So remember all that when it comes to fraud. You know, even if you're not victimized, but you have this email and that keeps sending you emails and you want to report it, you can always report it to us. And then step 5, review your financial statements and notify them of any suspicious activity. Notify your financial institution and credit card companies and change passwords to your online accounts. If you suspect that your mail has been redirected, contact Canada Post. So an example of this would be, you know, somebody stole your identity, they applied for a credit card is being mailed to your house, but they want the physical credit card. They'll call Canada Post because they have your IDs and they can do this. They will get your mail redirected somewhere else to one of those empty mailboxes somewhere. If your any ID has been compromised, provincial or federal, make sure that you let the government know just in case something in the future happens with it. Some IDs will get changed. One that does not change is your social insurance number. You have that social insurance number for life. Keep it safe, don't share it. And even, you know, how many people have their social insurance cards in their wallets or in their purse or in their cars? That's a big no-no. Keep that social insurance card, you know, in your safe at home, in your freezer, in your underwear drawer, but just not in your purse, okay? How to report fraud. So our toll-free number, 1-888-495-8501. And on our website, antifraudcenter.ca. This information is also in the package that Darlene has provided to you. We recommend as well that to keep that package with you, keep it close, because if ever you get a phone call, an email, or a message on social media and you're unsure, you can also make reference to that package, but you can also make reference to our website, because our package will reference the top 10 frauds that affect seniors, but our website has the rest on there. You can search alphabetically. Oh, I said it. You can search alphabetically, and it's very easy to navigate. Again, that package, please share it with everybody you know. You know, your neighbor, your friends at the Legion, your friends at the church, your grandkids, your kids, your cousins, share it, because knowledge is power. Education is the key to prevention. Any questions?
Okay, Stephanie, that was amazing. A little scary, but very educational.
Thank you.
I am just going to stop the screen share here so that Kelly and I can help you figure out how to move forward here.
I got it here, I think. There you go.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So stop share. All right. So our first question is, why is the reported numbers so low? That was one of the first questions. You may have covered that, but is it just because people aren't actually reporting?
That's, well, yes and no. So that's only the numbers for seniors.
Okay.
And again, like we said, there's only about 5% of people that actually report the fraud to the Canadian Anti-Fraud. So those numbers could be a lot higher.
Okay. The next question is that I am on the do not call list. I am still getting calls repeatedly. Is there anything that we can actually do?
Unfortunately, it's the only thing that we can do is put our numbers on the do not call list. But again, the other thing that we recommend is that if you do not recognize a number, do not pick it up. Let it go to voicemail. Because they use the spoofing tactics, often we don't even know where the call is coming from. So the more that you answer these calls, the more that your number will go on the good list and the more calls you'll get. So let it go to voicemail. If it's important, the person will leave you a message and you can call them back.
Okay. You sort of answered this, but this question was, do people call from like PC MasterCard to tell you of unusual activity? A gal said one of her friends got this call and she didn't know if it was real or not.
Yes, they can call you. They can even send you text messages or emails. So again, in my house during Christmas time, I got a text message saying that there was unusual activity on my credit card. And I kind of ignored it because I'm like, oh, this is a scam, right? Within 2 days later, my husband, we share like an account. We each have a card on an account. A few days later, he got a text message saying that there was unusual activity on his credit card. And we compared the messages and they were a little bit different. They came from 2 different numbers. And I told them, we're going to deal with this later. We had company. So a few days later, we called the credit card company and sure enough, our credit card had been frauded. His text messages was real, mine was fraudulent. So what you need to do is that if you get an email, a telephone call, a text message, hang up, wait the 10 minutes and call the number that you are familiar with to confirm.
Okay. Someone else said that Microsoft Defender popped up saying they needed to make a call to them because there was issues with their computer. If it's through Microsoft Defender, is that also a fraud?
It could be, yes. I can never say 100%, but I know that, Microsoft, Apple, they even have a lot of fraudulent websites online. So at that point, like if I would get a pop-up from Microsoft Defender, if I have Microsoft Defender, I would go in my emails from when I purchased Microsoft Defender and I would call that number, never a number that is provided to you.
Okay. So I guess that's similar to the question here about does Apple,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say something else. So remember how, like with the previous question, do credit card companies let you know when there's fraudulent activities? So I got a call from my credit card company and they, when we called the credit card company, they confirmed our identity, but they didn't ask any personal questions. They just asked like questions like, what street do you live on? When was your last purchase? Where do you mostly use your credit card? It wasn't like, what's your social insurance number? What's your driver's license number? What's your credit card number? They didn't ask any of those questions. So most often, if these credit card companies are calling you, they're not going to ask you for personal information. They're just going to ask you for general information.
Okay, so that leads into the next question. Does Apple ever actually call you to help you access your iPad and iPhone when you're having issues? That is a service Apple does or doesn't provide. Are those legitimate? Can they be legitimate?
I can't really answer that question. There is so much fraud with Apple that I wouldn't trust any of those calls unless I'm initiating something on my own tablet or my own telephone number if I'm locked out and then they call me. But again, providing personal information and allowing them access in my tablet is a big no-no.
Okay. Are there actually any safe steps that you can use to protect your phone and PC? Like what should we be doing? Is there something you recommend?
Yeah, so what I do recommend is that if you need like a firewall of some sort, go to like Best Buy, Staples, a computer store and purchase one from them.
And they can help you to install.
Yes, exactly. Don't ever buy one that you find online.
Okay. I am running through these questions fairly quickly, gang, because I know you've been on for a while. So the next one I have is, who do you notify if your SIN is stolen?
So you can notify the government, like I think it's Service Canada. I can let you know in a second, but I'd have to find the number, but I do have it. So CRA, Canada Revenue Agency. But again, I would also place alerts with the credit bureaus, because if your SIN has been compromised, it may be used again. So Canada Revenue Agency will not change your social insurance number. So at this point, it's more to protect it.
Okay, so that leads into this other question then. You mentioned getting accounts with Equifax and TransUnion. Is there a charge for that? Can you do that as a free service?
So I kind of answered that question, but I will elaborate on that. So yes, there is a fee to place alerts with them. They have different packages, and unfortunately, I can't tell you what these prices are, but you can do it. You can monitor it yourself. And if you've been part of a data breach of some sort, most often that agency, like I know there is the case Desjardins data breach, they provided a 3-year free of Equifax protection. And I know there was also a data breach with the Teachers Association. They also provided a 3-year Equifax protection. But like I said, once your information has been compromised like that, you need to protect it for life. It's not just 3 years. But yeah, there is a fee, but you can do it for free yourself.
Okay. Another question is, can you actually safely purchase online using your credit card? What are we looking for?
Yes, it's the best way to purchase online. We don't want you to send e-transfers. We don't want you to send gift cards. We don't want you to do direct deposits. We don't really want you to use a third-party company. What we want you to use is your credit card, because if something happens, they will protect you.
Okay.
Your bank less. So use your credit card. Yeah. And notify them as soon as you know, or as soon as you think it's a fraud. You know, if you're waiting for a package, sometimes you'll order, I like using Dyson vacuum. I think it's funny, but you order a Dyson vacuum and you get a tracking number in the mail. There's a package on its way. And then you actually get a package, and the box is way too small. You open up the package and you get a pair of sunglasses. That happens often. So what they're doing is that they're trying to prove to the credit card company that they did ship the package. So at that point, take a picture of the package of the sunglasses.
So that happened to me, actually. I got a pair of sunglasses and
there you go.
I had to really fight with my credit card company, because they said, well, a package was delivered. So they reversed the charges and then they recharged the charges. So you have to be really careful, because if you accept the package, then they have fulfilled their duty. So that's just something I don't know if I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. So that's why I said, if you do get a smaller package, sometimes, I know myself, sometimes I get a package, I don't even know, I'm like, what did I order? I don't even remember, right? So as soon as you open that package and you see that tracking number, and it's the same tracking number of the Dyson vacuum, take pictures.
Okay.
Take pictures.
So someone else asked, reporting if you have a grandparent scam call, but you don't become a victim, should you still report that happened? Please do.
100%, because if we don't know what's happening, we can't tell others that it's happening. Especially we know that grandparent scams, they target communities. So if you live in the GTA, for example, you might be the first person to report to us, and that's when we keep our eyes open. Or it could be linked to that's the good thing about our databases, right? Is that sometimes if you get a call from a grandparent scam and they claim to be John Henry from this number, so we'll put that in our database, and we're like, oh my gosh, John Henry with that telephone number has scammed 3 other people. That's when we create these investigative packages and we give it to law enforcement, and it gives them more power to arrest, because sometimes there's just a little bit of information missing, and you might have it. Okay, good to know. I am getting calls on my cell phone that says likely fraud. Is this legitimate? Is this something new the phone companies are doing? Every single phone company has something a little different. So to be safe, I would contact your service provider and ask them if that's something that they're doing. I know some service providers will have a fee to prevent fraud telephone calls from coming in. Some of them have no fee. So I would actually suggest everybody to call their telephone companies and ask if there's a way to prevent fraudulent calls from coming in. I know that some telephone companies say fraud alert or something of the sort, but some telephone companies will not let any incoming automated robotic phone calls from coming in. So what the telephone company does is that it rings, it goes to a message, it says, if this is a real person, please press 9, and then the call will be redirected. So what that does is it prevents any of those automated robotic calls from coming in, because the robot cannot press 1 or 9 to continue with the call.
Okay, two more things here. If I'm getting emails from my father that are not in reality from him, how do I go about securing his Gmail account?
So change his password, number one. Sometimes what fraudsters are doing is that they're actually like redirecting emails through that email address. So if it keeps happening after you change the password, for sure report it to, like, if it's Outlook, report it to Outlook. If it keeps happening, I would shut down that whole account and start over. But one thing that I would recommend is that if you are getting that email, probably his whole contact list is getting that email. So I would do an email blast to all the contacts saying, hey, Dad's email has been compromised, or Dad's Facebook account has been compromised. Please know that whatever messages that you are receiving are not from him. This account's being closed, and then start over.
Okay. And then something that has come up with our swag team is that we're wondering if there's any support that your association can give to us that would perhaps help banks, places like Apple, Sephora, the phone stores, the ones that the scammers are getting our seniors to go to buy gift cards. Can they be instructed or taught to ask more questions? Is there a protocol that they follow that could perhaps help our seniors from getting scammed?
So I have to say that every single store have their own policies on what they do when mostly it's large amounts of gift cards. You know, they don't question when it's like $100, but when it's like $500, some will question. Some businesses will not sell if they're paying with a credit card, or they need to pay cash. So it's different with every single one of them, but I know that the OPP is actually working on something to, like, a poster to put in as many stores as we can. And I'm not even part of this project. And to be honest, I volunteered. I said, any community that I go into to do a presentation, I will stop at as many stores as I can to share these posters. And I know, like, the Bitcoin things as well, is that there's posters out there, and even the machine has alerts on there, and people are still putting money in, even though they see the alert, you know? Yeah. So it's kind of hard, but yes, so I live in Sturgeon Falls. I'm not sure where all of you are from, but there is a scam that happened in my hometown to an older gentleman that I know. And it affected me so much. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened, you know, in my own community, to somebody that I know. It really did affect me. So it was gift cards. So he went to a local store and bought like a lot of gift cards, and they sold it to him. And I called the store and I said, what's your policy on this? So their only policy is that if they're buying over $500, that it can be through a credit card. And if they will tell them that, are you sure this is not a scam? And they'll explain to them that gift cards are often purchased for scams. But if the person insists, they will still sell it to them. I've heard of other stores that they'll say, not during Christmas time, but some stores will prevent people from buying more than $200 of gift cards. Because through, like, reports from, like, in our database, you could see sometimes, you know, the so-and-so went to Shoppers, purchased $200 because that's all they would allow him to purchase. Then went to this place. That's all they would allow him to purchase.
Okay. I had one more question here. My father got a call that we checked when we visited that was an unknown caller. He can't remember much about the call other than $900 and to answer with yes or no. What kind of a scam could this have been?
It may be something through like Amazon or eBay. Often it'll be like there's two charges on your credit card, one from eBay and a withdrawal from Western Union. And I think it's part of the bank investigator scam
Okay.
that
Okay.
I said earlier.
That's
Yeah, so like,
amazing.
again, like with gift cards, honestly, I only buy them as presents, or everybody should only buy them as presents, never like for anything else, like, hydro companies or the government will have never ask for them. And fraudsters will tell you to lie, and know in your head that if they're asking you to lie to somebody, there's a reason why they're asking you to lie. So think about that. Always tell the truth, right? That's what we've been told all of our lives. Always tell the truth.
So I see Margaret, your hand. Give me 1 second, Margaret. Are e-transfers never safe? Asks Lynn.
Okay, so I would say e-transfers are safe. What is not safe about e-transfers is that they're not refundable. After they're accepted, they're gone. But one fraud that's been happening with the e-transfers is somebody is selling an item online. And so let's just say I'm selling a laptop online. Somebody approaches me and they say, I'll give you $100 more, but I want you to ship it to my brother in Buffalo. So you go to Canada Post, you ship the item, and you need to put that tracking number in the e-transfer to collect the money. So that package is gone. You put the tracking number in the e-transfer, and it's a fraudulent e-transfer. So if ever you see an e-transfer that you need to put a tracking number in before accepting the funds, that's fraudulent.
Okay. Margaret.
I'm the one that asked the question about the do not call list. I was here at home one night, and I'm telling the truth, between about 9 o'clock one night and noon the next day, I got 13 calls from an unknown number. Now, I don't answer the phone. My theory is, there's very few 1-800 numbers that I really want to chat with. And it was an Amazon thing. There's been a charge on your Amazon. So I phoned Amazon, and later, I have 2 phones, so I'm lucky. And they said, no, and we would never phone you to do this. And they sent me an email. Should we report those kinds of things to you too? Like even just like, those phone calls? Like
if it's just telephone numbers that you have, we don't necessarily take them all, because most of them are spoofed, right? So if they're using a line to call you, but whatever is showing up on your caller ID is not necessarily the number that they're calling from. So fraudsters will use telephone numbers that belong to legitimate people to fraud other people. So never call a number that you see on your phone, first of all. But you did great, Margaret, by reporting it to Amazon, because again, same with them. If they don't know that it's happening, they can't put it on their website. They can't put it on the radio. They can't put it on the news. So the more that we report to them, the more that they can educate people, and the more that they can create preventative measures from those things happening.
Okay, so, but if we just have that, like a phone number, that's not enough to...
No, a phone number is not enough, unfortunately. But if you would have picked up the phone, for example, and they would have said, this is John Henry from Amazon, that's good. We know that John Henry from Amazon called you on Friday at 7:27 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't follow through with the call, you're okay.
Yeah, you should, like, honestly, you shouldn't even answer. The reason probably why you got so many is because you picked up once, and they have put your number on their good list, and they knew that this was a real person. So they just sent a whole bunch, like they put your number in an automated list and sent calls and calls and calls, and they were hoping that you would pick up once. And I know some people will tell us as well, oh, I pick up and I play with them. I'll tell them this and I'll make them hold. And don't do that. The more you play with them, the more they'll play with you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And we have one last question. Is there a legit use of cryptocurrency?
Yes. I was just in a webinar yesterday, and they told me to tell everybody, do not invest in cryptocurrency. A big percentage of it is fraudulent, unless you're doing it, unless you're verifying with the Securities Commission that they're a legitimate company, unless you're doing it through an investor that that you actually went and sat with, I would not invest in cryptocurrency at all. There's too much fraud out there at the moment. And the other thing with cryptocurrency is that, it's a wallet, a virtual wallet. So what these fraudsters are doing is that if you put money into one of those wallets, because it's all like in the cloud, we say, as soon as money is put into that wallet, those fraudsters know that money is there, and they'll divide that $1,000 into 100 other accounts, and instantly 100 other accounts, 100 other accounts. So it's like a Christmas tree. So when we try to trace it, sometimes out of your $10,000, $1 or 1 penny will be sitting in each of the accounts. So it's really, really, really hard to trace, unfortunately.
So I keep saying to our group here, if only these scammers would use their powers for good, not evil, we'd have a much different experience here. But unfortunately, that is not the case. So I am going to give this floor back to Darlene to say thank you to you. But before everybody goes, when Darlene is done, I'm going to just pop up the posters for our next 2 events. And in the chat down below, I have put the links for the next 2 events, which are the Consumer Protection event, March 2nd, and the Identity Fraud, April 13th. You should be able to open the chat, click the link, and it should take you right to the Zoom registration page. Before I close the meeting today, you can go to those links and sign up for our next events. Thank you. Darlene?
Stephanie, I have to say that is the very best fraud presentation I have ever heard, and I have heard hundreds.
Thank you.
Just absolutely fabulous. Thank
you
so
very much.
You are in the right job, young lady.
I enjoy it. It's fun. I truly do. So maybe that's why.
And it shows. And I knew you would be good, but you were 1,000 times better even. Thank you so much. It's a hard topic, and it was so great to have. Are we still there? Oh, there we are.
Yes, we're still here.
To have you here. And as Julie said, we're doing 2 more. You're our kickoff girl. So
that's good.
It was wonderful. And thank you so much for your time. I know this is a huge chunk of your day, and I can tell you've gone to a lot of work for us, and we are so appreciative of it.
It's okay. Thank you for having me. And honestly, I'm super happy of the huge turnout. It's unbelievable how people can get together so easily now. You didn't have to leave your home, your living room, your couch, or wherever you're sitting, your kitchen, have your cup of tea and listen to me for 2 hours.
Oh, well, listen, everything you said was so valuable. And what surprised me the most, several years ago, before COVID, that's how far it was, I had one of the Visa calls where they're calling you and they're saying, oh, there's been 2 things placed on your card. And I said, oh, this is just a scam. And they said, oh, if you don't believe me, call the Visa. Yeah. And my concern was, I knew it was fraud because they said Royal Bank, and I don't have Royal Bank.
Yeah.
But what bothered me was I tried to find out how long it took for them to be able to hold on to the call from other police. And I talked to our police too. And you're the first one who's answered that. It's 10 minutes.
Well, actually, it's less than 10 minutes. So they say approximately 3 minutes. But if I tell you 3 minutes and you wait 5 minutes and you get caught, it's my fault. So I always say 10 minutes. 10 minutes is the length that I recommend. Some people may say 5, but I know that fraud, they're professionals and it changes every single day. So if I say 5 and it's 6, then.
Yeah, no, it was such a great talk. Thank you. You covered everything we wanted. And I just wanted to say to everyone else, we're trying to do something a bit different. The next one will be from the Consumer Protection people. And the one after that is from the Ontario Securities Commission. So I'm hoping that they will be able to tell you a lot more about Bitcoin.
Yes.
So those are our next 2 presentations.
Darlene, send me the one about the Securities Commission. I would love to listen into that.
Oh, I definitely will.
Thank you. Definitely. Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Lovely. Really nice. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone got as much out of that as I did. It was just a fabulous presentation.